I will eventually run out of roughies to talk about. It was a short-lived genre. I've read some estimates that only about 50 of these things were ever produced, and I've probably already talked about around 20 of them. And of the ones that are left, I'm sure not all of them are worth talking about. But this one has a poster that promises butches of the weird world, so yeah, I definitely have to talk about this one. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at She-Mob from 1968. This roughie differs from many of the other ones in that the person at the business end of the whips and chains is a man. Get it, ladies? That's right, the She-Mob get a bit nasty with their boy toy, but it takes a little while for the film to work up to that point. Let's see how it does. We open on some energetic, jazz-infused credits. I'm liking this movie so far. After the credits, a woman in a bath calls out for her lover boy Tony, who is struggling to wake up. But even after waking up, he doesn't seem too keen on listening to her commands, which is kind of annoying since that means we have to listen to her call out to him over and over and over again. Wash your own back, Brenda. He eventually joins her in the bath and they frolic in the bubbles. Obviously, that's nothing I can show you here. But they do eventually tire each other out and towel off. And we learn from their conversation that Tony is a gigolo. In a different house, various women in various states of undress are sleeping. One woman is woken up by the sound of a toilet flushing and immediately starts playing with her very obviously, physician-enhanced apples.
They're not apples, but they're round.
In a way, I suppose. Physician-enhanced apples are kind of interesting for 1968. Although, I also probably shouldn't say enhanced because that seems to imply that they're better, which is obviously not the case. Anyway, enough about the stuff I don't like. Let's take a look at something I do like. This magnificent creature. Oh yeah, that's Big Shim, the leader of this band of misfits. She settles down to watch Apple's girl. So we have to deal with some more Apple play. This time, the camera pays special attention to her scars.
Why?
I don't know. In the rest of the house, one of the girls, Twig, wakes up and proceeds to wake up the others. We learn that these ladies have all been recently busted out of jail by Big Shim. And these ladies want a man. It has been years and they're desperate. So, good leader that she is, Big Shim tracks down Tony. He tells her he's making bank digging tunnels for a rich lady. Big Shim asks him to do a little moonlighting. Dig tunnels for her girl crew, keep 'em happy. Big Shim is happy with apples, of course, but, she wants the other girls to be happy too. Big Shim is a compassionate leader. Tony agrees, and then Big Shim tells the girls that she has further plans for him. Tony arrives and Big Shim greets him with a gun. She explains that he's going to be held for ransom. If his client is as rich as he says, there won't be any trouble. In the meantime, he can play with the ladies, which he seems happy enough to do. Tony's, benefactor arrives home and finds that he's not there, and then the note shows up. The benefactor, by the way, is played by the same actress that plays Big Shim. That's pretty fun. She considers calling the cops and then decides against it and instead calls this private detective. Back at Big Shim's place, the ladies play cards to see who gets to play with Tony first. One of the ladies wins, but I can't show you what she wins. I can tell you that the sound of all of that winning draws the attention of Apple's girl. Naturally, she proceeds to get her apples out and polish them.
Your sexual innuendo is priceless.
Thanks. But that ends up not being quite enough for her, so she joins in the action, which angers Big Shim. Back at the benefactor's place, the detective shows up with, "Is that an ocelot? Why does she have one of those?" I guess she likes exotic... Anyway, she comes up with a plan to find Tony. She'll deliver the ransom money and include a tracker in the payment box in case Big Shim tries to screw them over. I'm not sure why they wouldn't trade the money for Tony directly, but I'm not a private detective with an ocelot, so what do I know? The plan runs into a snag, however, when Big Shim's Apple's girl busts Tony out before the deal goes down. There's some fun, violent stuff that I don't want to spoil for you, so let's skip ahead a little bit where Tony is back at Big Shim's place. The sheep mob dresses him up in women's lingerie and tortures him. I can't show you a whole lot of that, but maybe just a taste.
Get me some blood!
So, will Brenda the benefactor and her private detective find a way to rescue that damsel in distress, Tony? Well, that's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. Big Shim! She's awesome. She just chews the scenery in every scene. She wears a crazy outfit with a cone bra. She's fantastic. Beyond her, there is some sexiness in this movie. Not much, but some. Twig is kinda cute, for one, but the highlight in the sexy comes late in the movie with that detective. Can't show you much of that, of course, but it ain't bad. It ain't bad at all. Finally, there's some bloody violence in this movie. I mean, beyond what the ladies do to Tony. That was kinda surprising to me, and a welcome surprise at that. In fact, at a certain point, the movie kinda becomes an action film, and does a decent job of it. But despite the skin, blood, and torture, the movie's not perfect. Like a gigolo forced to perform, it has some shortcomings. Well, the film mostly fails to be titillating, but unlike most roughies, I don't really think that's what they were going for. This is more of a shocker, I guess, and it's fun enough as one of those while still being laughably inept. But I don't want to concentrate too much on the weaknesses of a movie like this. This is trash cinema of the highest order, and how much you'll like it depends a whole lot on how much you appreciate trash cinema. If you're a fan of John Waters' earlier work, I think you'll like this. Big Shim might not be divine, but she's a good precursor.